listening to Thoughtless Casual Gaming with Brett and Jace. We are a Geelong-based gaming podcast where we play games badly and then talk very badly about them.
The important thing here is that, and the quality is low. Like, let's just, the badlies, that's what we offer here. Whatever you want. And in fact, there's probably more services we could offer badly.
I'm sure there are. I don't know. I think we offer enough bad services, don't we?
I mean, I think so, but I'm just not sure if we've capitalized on, the monopoly we have on that market.
We are the only people in the podcasting world who do things as bad as we do.
We are the badliest.
Yeah. Speaking of podcasts, I've been doing a thing for a while. Like, there are a number of podcasts that I listen to. One of which is the 40K Lorecast, which is a fantastic podcast all about the lore of 40K.
Look at the name being what it says on the tin.
I know, right? It is hilarious. It is, I think it's the highest rating 40K podcast out there. Two American guys, really smart and funny and all the rest of it. I love 40K lore.
It's very good.
As much as I hate the game.
It's such a shame.
But I was listening to one of their podcasts and they were talking about a series of books that they really enjoyed. They said some were better than others. It was a 12-book series.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to the first of 4 podcasts on it. And I thought, this sounds interesting. So I've gone off and spent the last couple of months on Audible listening to those books, 12 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I only listen to this sort of stuff in the car mainly too.
Yeah.
So it's taken a while. But I've finally finished and I'm finally back onto the podcast and I'm going back because it's been a while and I've got like 4 or 5 of
catch up. Yep.
Ours to catch up on.
Oh.
Because
what are you doing that for?
Well, I can't remember what we talked about.
That's the best.
But we did a sort of a breakdown of teams and all the rest of it. And I know you've done this for tournaments and stuff. But I got a little bit distracted last night and I put up some pie charts. I don't know if you saw them, but all the races that are played in R7's league so far, ones that have won and stuff like that. I just found it really interesting. Because I've updated it with all 8 now. Because I think when we talked about it, there were just 7. Lizardman still on top. But yeah, a lot of info. I'm gonna have to go and do it for all the tournaments now. That'll be my next thing. Total aside, and absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
No, but it is important. I find actually Audible mentioned I'm not reading anywhere near as much as I want to at the moment. And so I went, here's a solution. I will do the audiobook type thing, maybe while I'm painting or doing some hobby and stuff like that. I am so fucking impatient. I cannot wait for these people to say the words. I could have read it in this time. We'd be on to the next page. Hurry your ass up.
Yep.
I don't know whether that is just getting used to the medium thing, but I didn't get through a whole book and I'm like, I can't do this. Hurry your asses up.
They've got to make it entertaining. And, the one I find the funniest is when you've got the same narrator for 12-book series, for example. And the characters' accents and voices kind of change throughout the course of the series. But, as, you get to book 7 and realize that this guy's supposed to be a lot older than you've been playing him as. And so you have a bit of an older voice and all the rest of it. It's, oh dear, it's too good. But yeah, because I had those 12 books to read. Luckily, on Audible, they were in lots of 3.
Yeah, okay.
So I only had to, get 4 credits to get all 12 books. But I've got, I'm the sort of person that I went round to a friend's place a couple of months ago, and he's like, he's really into the books as well. And he's like, have you read this? Have you read that? And giving me a whole heap of things. He goes, this one's really good. This one's really good. This one, oh my God, I can't believe you haven't read this. Here, borrow it. And I'm like, okay. I don't know when I'll get it back to you. He's like, that doesn't matter because he lives in Melbourne, so we catch up every so often. But yeah, I got home from that and I've got his book. And then I went onto Amazon and ordered like 4 or 5 of the books that he'd recommended. And then another book came out that I wanted, so I ordered that. And then, I had this voucher for GW, so I'm like, I don't really need any more models. I've got a pile of about 10 books on my bookshelf, which I am slowly going to make my way through.
Yeah. It is, as I said, the audio book thing I tried and went, I don't have the patience for this. Maybe it's just not the right one. Maybe it's going to take a few to get into, but that was rough. But equally, I like reading books. I don't like... Incorrect. I like reading books. I like having books. I don't like storing books. I don't like moving books. So actually, they are a pain in the ass. For something that I really like to have, they offer no additional value and just take up a lot of space, weigh a shit ton, and I find that exceptionally frustrating because I want them, but I don't want them in my house.
I've got a bookcase in my study, which is, a shared bookcase, but it's a lot more of my books. And as the years progress, it's a lot more of my books. But I can't do Kindle. I can't read something on a screen. It just irritates me. I need it in front. I need to hold it.
I like the tactileness. I was wondering whether a Kindle would actually find the balance between it's not an iPad, it's not reading on a screen, because it kind of has a little bit more of a, finish and feel.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. But even on an iPad with the glare, like the screen brightness turned down, it ain't the same. I need, it's just, it is such a frustrating, because the other challenge here is once I buy a book and I own a book, I am never getting rid of that.
No.
So it is now mine for all eternity, and then we hit into the storing and moving and all of the things. It is. I have lived in this house for 10 years now. I still have a box of books in the garage I have not opened since we moved in. Because where the fuck am I going to put them? Anyway.
Bookcase. That's what a bookcase is for.
Yeah, but that just takes up more space in a fucking house. Anyway.
I'm well aware.
Anyway.
Oh, dear. So, not talking about books. What I thought we'd talk about today is 3D printing.
That is the thing. Did you know you can manufacture your own models now?
I have come across this.
This is wild. Like,
I
gone
fought
are the
it
days.
for a long time.
You can walk into a store and you can buy a thing that's all nicely packaged and boxed and everything, and you can pay a premium for that. Alternatively, you can hit print. And for a fraction of the price, it can just be yours in your house without having to put on pants. Actually, I recommend putting on pants because you don't want resin wet anyway.
Oh dear. No,
but,
I saw that where that was going.
Yeah. Yeah, there's resin where there should not be resin. But what an age that we live in.
It's exceptional, isn't it? And the more I delve into this whole 3D printing world, the more excited I get. And I know, look, there's pros and cons for it, for sure. But I have questions.
Oh.
Definitely.
I have opinions.
I'm well aware of that about you. That's why I come to you. Let's talk. So, I hadn't thought about where we'd start, but let's start at the beginning. So, filament printers.
Yes.
FDM, what are they called? Okay,
yep,
cool.
no,
I got that
no.
right. They were the original, correct?
Yeah, that was especially the first sort of commercially available for domestic use. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. They've obviously come a long way since.
Oh my God,
early
so
days.
far. Yes.
I have now got my hands on said filament printer.
Right, Raggy.
Yeah, so it is in my garage. It has not been hooked up or realistically done anything since I got it out of the car since Archie gave it to me. What do I need to know? So how different is printing on a filament printer to printing resin?
Worlds.
Okay.
So, I mean, fundamentally, the way they print is fundamentally different because you're feeding up, like you're feeding in some plasticky kind of thread. It heats that up, it melts it, and the little nozzle kind of moves around the bed and draws a picture with it. So, the thing that I was amazed when I first went to resin printing was how fast resin printing was, because when you're printing resin, you're curing an entire layer of the print bed at once, and then it lifts up. Whereas with a filament printer, it has to draw the picture on the bed. So that was a piece there. Equally, supporting. The other thing that has come a long way, I suppose, is supporting stuff. So when I was into it, there weren't a lot of reliable settings to get supports for printing things, which means a lot of the designs were done in a way that it didn't need funky supports or anything for it to print effectively, because you've still got that whole issue as if you try to draw a line of melty hot plastic in midair, it's going to droop and sag and fall down. So that, I mean, but that has also increased exponentially. But other stuff that's probably worth thinking about in the first instance is it's really fecking hot. So don't touch the hot bit. Like you're talking 200 degrees is the, your nozzle temperature kind of deal.
So that's the nozzle.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't touch the nozzle.
Wow. Yeah. So there's a little bit right before the stuff comes out as liquid. It goes in as a solid. It gets hot in this little hot end, and then the nozzle is kind of the bit where it spits it out at the right speed and diameter. That's all really hot. And that was the other thing, sort of, especially because I was doing it a little bit earlier in the piece, I was paranoid about having something that hot just running for 24, 48 hours at a time in the garage around, the lack of controlled environment that I put it in. So that's absolutely a thing. And then the other thing that is definitely worth, similarly to how resin is sensitive to UV, so keep it out of the sun.
Yep.
The filament is generally sensitive to moisture, and so it was keeping it in a relatively dry environment. Or, you get people who are buying humidifiers or dehydrators for them to suck the moisture out of it, because if moisture gets into the filament, you generally get a lot of sort of bubbles and it doesn't play nicely. Yep. So either crack it, use it, like just burn through that. And they generally come like vac sealed anyway, so it's not a concern. You see people bloody drying spools of stuff out in the oven.
Okay.
There are ways and means around it. And some of the newer 3D printers have got like hydration controlled chambers to keep this shit in. But that's probably the main, as I said, they've come such a long way. And then the fact that you can do things like, particularly with some of the new ones, you've got multiple colors that they'll print at once, which is pretty cool. So you can do stuff like, if you're not going to paint it because it's a token for something, you can do different layers and different bits of different colors. It's generally more sort of hardy and less likely to break and snap and stuff. Glorious. You don't have to worry about liquid resin stuck in the middle of a hollow model. So that's absolutely a thing. So for stuff like tokens and terrain and big stuff, it's really cost effective. It's a lot hardier and sort of hard wearing for that kind of job. And then save the resin for the detail. And it's actually impressive how much detail you can get out of an FDM printer now if you spend the time dialing it right in. I've seen dudes do models with it and you actually go, that's all right. On a table, that'd go.
Because that was always the thing with the old filament printers, that terrain you can get away with, but you would see the lines in between the layers.
And look, you'll still get a little bit of that. It's still, it's not as fine as resin printing, but it comes down to how much you care, because you can also, you can sand it, you can fill it, you can do a lot of that stuff as well. So you can get really smooth stuff if you want to put the extra time in post-process. But also how much, particularly for things like terrain and things like that, how much do you give two shits?
Yeah. See, and again, that was one of my questions. Like, resin is better, from what I understand, for the models. But for terrain and tokens and stuff like, carry cases, which Paris has printed me off an amazing Blood Bowl carry case. That sort of stuff is better.
Absolutely. For your filming. And it's just, also depending on the filament you can get a whole bunch of fancy ones, but you can, stuff is generally more hard wearing. It is more durable. It is less likely to break and snap and stuff. And you can do things in your print settings to make that even more the case. So the terrain, as a classic example, you're probably going to finish your game with the terrain. You're going to throw it in a tub or a box or something. You're going to carry it around to the next one. You're not taking as much care as you would a bunch of models that you've magnetized to a tray or you've keeping carefully in foam or anything like that, right? So absolutely, for the cost, B, for the durability, and C, for the fact you can easily do stuff at a bigger scale with FDM. Generally, the printers have bigger print beds. You can go bigger and taller and stuff. And sure, resin's getting silly as well, but for the same cost, I think you're going to find you can get a much bigger print going.
Yeah. Because I noticed that about the printer that Archie gave me. It's it seems to have a much bigger base than what I can do in the resin. How do you get stuff off the base? Is it just with a little spatula type thing?
Depends on the printer, but yes is the short answer. Some of them have got and you can get a magnetic flexible sheet on the bottom, so you pick it up and you just kind of bend it and it comes off. But otherwise, you scrape that shit off because it will be stuck, or it should be stuck because you've just put melted plastic on something, but generally not that stuck. It comes off, so you just, and once you get a corner going, it's all dry, so the whole lot just kind of lifts from that point onwards. Okay.
Are you at a risk of damaging the item that you've printed? Because I know that if I print something without supports, more often than not, I'm going to, probably put at least this scourge mark into the model, getting it off the...
If you're printing stuff directly onto the plate, it's generally not going to be stock on as much as if you do something flat on the plate with a resin printer, depending what your burn-in layers and stuff are like. But also with it, it's a lot easier with an FDM one to get something just under the very corner. So I suppose there's two bits. One, getting stuff under the corner and then just prying it up is a lot easier because once you start prying, it does it. But also generally you would print things with a raft around it. So this is the idea that the very first bit on the very outside is probably not going to stick as well. So often what you do with an FDM print is basically like a little brim of just wastage that you print around the perimeter of the model. It'll be, maybe a centimetre thick or half a centimetre thick or something. And you finish the print, you just peel that off. Like you just scrape it, cut it, peel it off, whatever. So actually when you go in to peel it off, that's the bit the scraper hits.
Yep.
And you're going to throw it out anyway.
All right. Makes sense. Because, I wasn't sure. Say you're printing a house, terrain piece or something like that. Like, does it use supports in the same sort of way that resin does?
Similar. You generally find... Well, for all the ones I've done, there are a lot of terrain models and terrain files that are designed to do without supports, because you can generally find that you can go up to a certain angle of overhang before you start getting a real sag and a droop, and it starts being trash. So a lot of designers will design things with that in mind, and so they only ever sort of start angling out at 45 degrees because they know that's what it will do. There is, you can, like you can with your resin 3D printers, there's less stuff that comes pre-supported, but it's the matter of hitting, support the file in your slicer and off you go. That has come a huge way since, when I was doing it and before I got rid of mine, and it should be a matter of then just snapping them off. So it's not like you're heating it up and nipping things off. And a lot of times the way that the slicer creates the supports, you can just break them off.
Okay.
Rip the whole model out of the supports, throw that away, and then move on your way.
Excellent. All right. Cool. This is making sense to me. One more question. The one that I've got has just the one nozzle. So can you do multi-colored things? Can you stop the print and put another color in, or is that
depends? It depends on the printer. I mean, short answer is yes, but
not recommended.
The ones that have generally, even with one nozzle, the ones that have what they call an AMS, I can't remember what it stands for, but basically what it does is you've got a bunch of different spools with different colors and one nozzle, and it finishes the color that it's doing, and it goes over to the side and it purges anything that's out of from that color, and then feeds the next color in. That might be in the reverse order, but so it swaps the color in the one nozzle by going to the next spool, feeding that in, purging all the remainder of whatever was, if you did red, spits all that out. So you get this little bundle of spaghetti on the side.
Yep.
And then when the yellow comes through, it continues printing in the next color. There's some super fancy ones that now where they literally swap the nozzles. So you do have, and so the little machine goes over, or a little arm goes over and picks up the nozzle for the next one and starts drawing in the next color. So you don't have to worry so much about the purging of the wastage of the spaghetti on the side. If it doesn't have, or you can't add that AMS system to it, you would have to do that manually, and that's really fucking hard.
More trouble this way.
because you would have to literally cut the spool, cut the filament that was going into it, feed the next one in
as it's still going,
as it was, or you'd pause it and try and do it, but don't do it. I've done it not because I wanted to swap colors, but because I realized that the spool I had was about to run out, and I still had an hour or two to go on the print. You're like, oh, there's not enough filament there. So you literally go and swap the spools over and just feed it in slowly as it's printing. And generally worked. And it meant I did get a print that was, half green, half white kind of deal. But it wasn't at a specific point in time. It was just that spool run out.
Yep. Yeah. This is an older one of Archie's, so I'm not expecting to be able to do anything too fancy with it.
But I mean, for terrain, like I only ever used grey or what was on sale, because so the grey I found photographed really, really well, which I liked. It was just kind of easier to see than a lot of the detail and a lot of other stuff. And I was going to paint it all anyway. So just bulk grey filament was my go-to.
Because, look, the resin printer that I got for my birthday, when it fails, I usually just muck around and do a few things, and eventually I can get it to work. It might take me 3 or 4 print attempts, but I can get it to work. I'm a lot better at it now than I was, for sure. And I'm finding I'm printing a lot of stuff on there that is probably going to end up in a pile of shame in a cupboard. But I'm having fun doing so.
And it's really hard not to. I always find that it feels like when it's not running, it's wasted.
Yes.
And so I often print infinitely more than I will ever need, because it just feels like I should be running it at 24/7.
Yes, I try it. I mean, for the first month or so that I had it, that was what I was doing. And then I tried to cut back and just print what I needed. But now what I need and what I want to print are 2 different things. For example, we have about another 3.5 rounds and then finals left in the season. Then we'll finish that about November. We'll have a couple of months break. We'll start up early up in the next year. My team's ready to go for next season. They're printed. They're not painted, but they're printed, and they're sitting staring at me, and I'm very, very fond of them.
My team isn't released yet, so that's a problem.
But you know what it is?
Absolutely. I'm just waiting for the sculptor to finish it.
Are we talking Bretonians?
No.
Okay, cool. Oh, now I really need to find the whole Monty Python coconuts.
It'll come out. Someone will do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's been done, but
it has been done.
I need it again.
Yeah. Someone will modernize that. It'll be great.
Yes. So with the resin printer,
yes,
I use, what's the program? Lychee.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there something similar that I use for the filament one?
Yeah. And I mean, Lychee has a filament setting on it. So you could, I haven't, when my old printer, I mean, that depends on the person, so probably. Yes. But similar kind of concept, and a lot of the printers have kind of the recommended slicer. I think, when I bought the my old one was a Creality Ender 3. It said, download this slicer, and I just did what it said.
Yeah.
And it worked. And so, that was fine. And then, with the resin, it's basically Lychee or Chitterbox is your options. Pick one. They all do the same thing, is the moral of the story. So as long as you're going in there and you're saying this printer, everything else should be basically the same.
Okay, cool.
You
So
know, you have to think about slightly different settings because you'll talk
Mhm.
about whether it, you know, the brim and stuff like this, or the infill for because often for a FDM one, resin will print solid, right? It'll
Yep.
do a solid wall. With an FDM printer, often like if you're doing a wall of a building, it will have like a honeycomb or some kind of, so you have the
Yep.
wall and then the inside of it, so you don't waste a shit ton of filament because you don't need it.
Yep.
We'll do it like an infill pattern. So there's slightly different settings and stuff you need to think about. But that also makes it really, really obvious which printer you're doing things for.
Mhm. So should it be easy enough for me to pick up?
I mean, again, it depending on the printer, depending on all the things, and I keep going back to my experience was, given how fast this industry is moving forever ago now,
Mhm.
and I got annoyed with mine because of the amount of tinkering involved,
Yep.
because the nozzle would clog and then you'd have to, you know, heat it up and pull the filament out. And I ended up just bulk buying nozzles,
Mhm.
and just as one clogged, I threw it out and put a new one in.
Yep.
Because that was cheaper and easier than dicking around trying to unclog things. But again, the whole lot's moved ahead so much more that's, you know, the bamboos as an example, or even the new Prusas are just plug and play, and stuff
Yep.
might not work sometimes, but actually they're just so much more reliable than they were. You know, I spent a lot of time upgrading mine because the, you know, cheap plastic bits that they came with eventually wore out. So you'd go and buy aluminium bits, and this leveling, my God, leveling the bed on my old one. Basically, the print bed sat on 4 springs
Mhm.
with 4 little manual handles at each corner.
Yep.
And so you would work out where you needed the nozzle to sit, and then you would manually adjust each one of them to try and get the print bed level.
Yep.
And nowadays, self-leveling beds are a thing. You don't have to worry about any of that trash. And like they were starting to do a lot better with mesh and sensors and stuff that you could do, but there was a lot of sort of adding on to the printer and tinkering and adjusting and modifying. Whereas now, most of them just come with that shit by default. You don't think about it. Because you would have the issue that the print would stick really, really well in one corner and lift off the bed in the other because it was a couple of mil out of whack.
Yep. Ooh, okay. You know, Archie's already talked to me about, you know, how to level it and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And again, it would go and it would print really, really well for a bunch for months, and then something would go wrong and I would swear at it and ignore it for months.
Mhm.
And then eventually get up the motivation to fix it and rip out the old nozzle and put a new one in and re-level the bed and freaking butt. And by then, the filament had been sitting in the shed open for however long, so it was all gross, and you just throw that out and get a freshie. But yeah, I mean, horses for courses, for terrain, for tokens, for practical things. Like even for home, I wanted a mount for my doorbell camera.
Mhm.
Because where it is, it just needed to angle out a fraction.
Yep.
And the ones that came with it weren't quite the right angle. So I just found a file for it and hit print, and it's lived on. Like I screwed it to the wall, I screwed the doorbell camera to the mount, and that's how it lives now. So, you know, I wouldn't do that with resin; it would break and crack and
Yep.
stuff.
Excellent.
So for practical stuff, so much better.
Okay. All right. Now I just need to set it up.
Yeah.
Archie did tell me when he gave it to me, he's like, so if you've got any questions, let me know. And I'm like, I will have questions. I will let you know.
And he'll know the printer, he'll know the foibles, he'll know the things that, you know, he got used to doing for that. So it'll depend exactly what it is, but realistically, you'll get stuff out of it.
Yep. So I'm thinking I just need to set it up. I'm going to set it up in the garage. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's where mine lived. And again, I had better luck when I put it in a box or something just to control the heat a little bit. It generates a lot of heat because it's running really hot. But effectively, you're trying to get melted plastic to stick to something. So being able to control a little bit of the ambient temperature was lovely. But mine lived in a garage.
Stick it on top of the freezer.
I mean, sure.
Will that help?
To make it hot or cold?
To make it colder. To keep the heat from rising too much. I mean, I kind of like the idea of having these printers,
yes,
but I don't want to burn down the house.
No. And look, that is probably not a huge concern these days, but it was more just trying to control the temperature of things because it's trying to melt the plastic at a very specific temperature, and the bed is sitting at a very specific temperature. So if it's -2 degrees outside, that kind of fucks with everything because your garage is probably not that insulated. So it's more that than anything else. Now we're almost out of winter. It's probably not a concern.
Yeah. All right. So I need to set this thing up and then find something to print. Cool.
All of those things are true. There's a whole bunch of just small practical stuff. When you look at, if you've seen the little dice container that I think it's Josh has kicking around, or couple of the guys that got kicking around. Brad's got one. That's an FDM print. As a really handy kind of starter, not too complex thing, but terrain is, and depending on what you're printing terrain for, super orky terrain is allowed to be pretty rough. It's my thoughts here.
I see where you're going with that. Cool. All right. That gives me a bit to go with, which is good because, I mean, I was completely new to this whole thing when I came to you with this resin printer and said, hey, I've got a printer. Now what? So, yeah.
And look, that is still, I'm still tinkering with mine. I have not sworn as much as when I replaced the screen in mine.
Yep. I haven't had to do that.
Don't do it. That's the moral of that story.
Incidentally, is that something we should be replacing at a regular interval?
It is a consumable. They have a shelf life of however many prints and things, but no.
Okay.
Is the moral of the story. If it's still working, if it's going, then no. The problems you'll have are some of the pixels die at some point. But it's like your TV. You're not replacing that however long, and that's running probably as much, if not more, than your printer, which is the same bloody technology. So pixels dying, there's problems. Or if you're dumb and put something through the screen and crack it.
Yeah, which is what I'm worried about because I've spilt resin over this bloody thing all over the place. One of the screws goes in a lot
easier
more than the other one does.
Yeah. And that was me just not being careful between prints and making sure that, I looked at the print bed and went, that looks like everything's printed. Spoiler alert, everything had not printed. So the next time I didn't clean out the vat and everything. And so the next time the screen just pushed down too hard on the bit that was left floating around in the middle there. I was rushing and that was my error.
I'm normally pretty good with that because I normally know exactly how many things I'm printing. And I won't bother saving my, what do they call them?
I'm absolutely not doing that.
But I'll generally, unless I'm very confident in knowing what I'm doing, I'll just export it onto the USB and then I'll print it And then I'll go, okay, well, I should have 8 things. I've got 8 things. Cool. I'll go back. Yeah. I'll clear everything off on the computer and I'll start the next one.
Yeah, I'm not saving the actual lychee file scene thing of all the stuff. Not a chance. I'm also a shocker for loading the build plate. So I want these 8 things, but there's more space. What else can I put on there to do it? Alternatively,
does that take as much time or more?
It's
That's
only
what I thought.
It's only because you're doing every single layer at a time. It's only if something is taller than the other stuff that it will increase your time. It takes longer to slice because your computer freaks out longer. But anyway, so I do that. I tend to load the build plate far too much. Or, if someone says, hey, I've bought these files, can you print them for me? I am very bad at checking. I'm just like, yeah, all right. Here's all of the files you've given me. I'm going to put them on. Do they all fit? Yes, they do. Great. Let's go. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know what's there. I don't know what's not there. I don't know what's printed and what hasn't. So it also means
that's why I leave it on the computer so I can.
No, because I've sliced 3 plates worth of stuff, and then they live on the USB file. And I go, 1, you've printed. I'll rip you off, and I'll put the next one on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not an organized system. And if something's missing, it's often a lot of, what is that going to be? All right, it was a big piece. Who's missing? Who looks like they're missing? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to have to go back and look at all the files and compare and see. But, hope is a strategy.
I have noticed, too, that you're not very good at organizing folders of files.
I am fucking wonderful at organizing folders of files. I just have far too many folders of files. Like, my problem at the moment is I have filled OneDrive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I need to work out what to delete.
Yep. All right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that has both the zip files and the unzipped files that I need to go back and do. But also naming conventions of stuff are terrible, and I want to go back and rename and relabel everything, but that's a lot of effort.
Yep.
And then doing it by manufacturer or doing it by faction or doing it by whatever. Like, there's about 1 billion different ways you can organize it.
Yep.
And then the other thing I want to do is, so OneDrive gives you like 1 terabyte of storage.
Mm-hmm.
But my family Microsoft subscription comes with 5 users with 1 terabyte of storage each.
Okay. Yep.
So what I actually need to do is find a way smartly to access all 5 of those, share folders between them, and that way I don't keep filling it and then having to delete things I haven't used in however long. I can organize them a lot better, but because that's a future me problem, I haven't gone back and done it yet because it's a lot of effort.
Yes.
I don't want to.
I just found what I was doing was downloading all these files to print, and I was just leaving them all in the downloads folder. And then I'd find that I'm like, I need to print some more of those. Where are they? I don't know. Maybe I can just find them again. So I spent an afternoon going through and creating a 3D printing folder in my downloads, and then subcategorizing and putting it in the way that made sense to me. It took me an afternoon to do, but now it's all organized. And I legitimately had to go, okay, let's load up these 20 files into Lychee to see what the hell they are and where I put them.
Yeah, it's such an amount of time that you've got to dedicate to once it gets out of hand. And then the second half of that problem is my discipline to keep up a process and system once I've started it, because I tend to let that go to hell and then have to spend a day fixing the hell I've let it go to.
Yep.
And that's a horrible job that I put off for 3 years. And, that's effectively what happened. It escalated out of control. I started with some files and that went bonkers. And the files that I use regularly, or the files that I am constantly in, are lovely. The rest of it, I don't look at.
And don't care.
No. And then every once in a while, I'll be like, oh, I really want to print something from this game or this creator. Or I'll go find it. Oh, my God, this is a mess. And I'll spend a night cleaning that up. But otherwise, too hard. Take it back. I don't want to play anymore. If only we had some kind of artificial thing that could go through and you could tell it to do your admin and it would just make it all go.
Yeah, some kind of fake smartness.
Yeah, I need it not to be dumb. I need it to be able to take instruction and execute that instruction and create some kind of assumptions and fill in some gaps along the way.
You just need a clone.
Oh, it'd be great. No, that would be terrible.
Yeah, no, he'd get sick.
They would get so distracted and just download more shit and create more mess.
Excellent. Love it. All right. That gives me a lot to go with. Thank you.
No, anytime. Yeah, it's one of those things. The thing that amazes me at the moment is just how fast the industry is. So, firstly, how big like resin printers and stuff have got now. B, the speed difference between the FDM printers of 5 years ago and now. Mm-hmm. How much far, and then just those things around swapping colors out and swapping nozzles, and they're now talking about swapping tools out, so you could have a 3D printer that was maybe also a laser cutter or a router or a thing, because it could swap the whole end out to a different function. Like, it's wild. And then the 3D printers now, like the resin ones that have got the tilting vats, and just I have had prints fail because I ran out of resin in the vat. And now there's ones that just fill it as you go. You just plug the bottle in.
Yep. I tend to try and fill mine up when I print. Make sure. Because, I have, admittedly, I was printing a huge thing off. I'm like, yeah, cool. Let's see if I made it so it would just fit onto the printer. And I didn't take into account the resin. So
and then
the 3/4 of it did. It looked great.
And then you've got the dilemma of, do you reprint the whole thing, or do you try and just reprint the last quarter of the thing and line it up? So
I'm not smart enough to do that. So that went in the bin, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah. Because I've also had to do that thing where that there's not enough resin in the thing for the print you've got on, so you have to go in halfway through and just top it up. Lift the lid up a little bit and just top her up. Anyway.
Excellent. All right, let's move on. I think it's time. Now, I know you sent me this or that.
I did.
And I looked at the fact that you'd sent it to me, but then I didn't read it. So I had no idea what you've got planned.
Oh, this is great, because what you're assuming is that I retained any information once I sent it. But fortunately, in this instance, I looked at it just before. Because I absolutely did not retain any information. And this is maybe a little bit of a segue from where we've come from, because, we've talked about printing lots of stuff and, doing, whether that's a big project for your next team or an army or whatever it is. And so my this or that in this instance is, when you're hobby projecting of whatever hobby project, are you doing the whole lot at once, or are you doing a bit at a time? And the example I want to give is the thing I love, or the thing I used to really enjoy in Old White Dwarves, were kind of the slow grow program campaign things they used to run, where they'd have a tale of 4 armies and they'd all paint 500 points, and then they'd play a game, and then that's the kind of, or I know I'm building a 2,000 point army, I'm going to do the 2,000 point army. Which way do you go?
I totally go in the way of the whole thing, because I know where my mind goes, and it doesn't stay focused. So if, for example, I'm painting a team, or let's use the Blood Bowl team as an example. If I'm painting a full Blood Bowl team, if I paint half of it and go off and do something else and come back to it a couple of weeks later, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What colors I've used, the process I've used to do that, and inevitably shit looks different. So I will do my utmost, whether it's leaving all of the colors that I've used on said particular model on the desk, or if it's going through and going, okay, let's print up a model, work out the colors. Okay, these are the colors that I used. Now let's do those on the next 10 models, whatever I need to do. And I can batch paint, I'll do like all of the blue on, and then all of the red or whatever the colors I'm using. As long as I've got that initial one that I know what I'm doing, and I've got all the same paints and everything in front of me.
Because there's two ways. I mean, often because we're doing a sevens team, it's not too many models, and so there's two ways you could carve that. You could paint all of the armor or all of the one color on 7 models, 10 models, whatever, or you could paint an entire model and then paint an entire another model.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me. Let's look at an example here, shall we? So I can just reach out and touch someone, or grab models in this case.
Okay.
I had this great idea for a College of Shadows team.
Yes.
Where the majority of each model was black, and then just little line work and edge highlighting and stuff like that as the colors. So that the most of the model was in shadow. I did one model, and I was like, yeah, that kind of works. There's a couple of things I'd change, but I think I've got the gist of what I'm trying to do. A couple of months later, I did another model. And I'm like, that one looks better than the first one I did. I think I know more of what I wanted to achieve out of this.
Yeah.
I haven't done any more. Like, I've got 2 models and they've been sitting on my desk as inspiration to try and finish the rest of the team. I don't think I've even assembled the rest of the team. So that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I have, and it depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing a 7s team, if I only ever have plans on using said particular team for 7s,
and I do,
I'll do the 7 or 8 models that I need to do, or 11. Or for some stupid reason, if I'm doing a Snotling team, I'll do 12 models. I don't know why, but I did 12 models.
I mean, that could happen.
Maybe if one of the positions died and I didn't want to replace it, or I couldn't afford to replace it. I think that was my rationale. But if I'm using a team which I'm thinking, okay, I want to use these in 7s, but there is possibility of me wanting to use them in 11s, maybe I'll do 11 models, 12 models, or whatever. Like my chibi vampires, I've got them here. I've got 2 blitzers, I've got 2 runners, I've got 2 throwers, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 thralls, and I've got the big guy. 9 thralls. So that's enough to do whatever I want with them. It's it's a matter of me now coming up with a color scheme that I want to use, and then doing it, because they're all undercoated and xanthalled and ready to go. And when I start, I will start on all of them. The chibi vampire that I've done for the Why So Serious community team, I am pretty sure I'm pretty much done. I just want to highlight the ball a bit more and do the rim around the base. And then I've got this huge pile of paints here, which is every paint that I've used on this one. And I kind of can't wait until I finish him so I can put all these paints away.
Yeah, because I'm not allowed to put them away until then.
Yes.
I have a similar workspace issue that I don't put paints away as I'm painting or in the middle of a project, and then I slowly encroach on my space.
Yep.
And then I'm painting in a little 6-inch kind of circle on the edge of the desk, and then I finish a project. I'm like, yes, and then I cannot possibly start another project until I clean that all up, and I start again, and then we go. But similar, I would love to be able to do the slow grow. I would love to be able to, and going back to the old Warhammer Army days and things like that, paint a unit and then finish it and put it down, and then paint the next unit and then put that down. And I cannot do that to the point that I generally, even on a full scale sort of, Warhammer Army style project or a 40k Army project, I've done a couple of those now, all of the models are at the same general, stage all of the time. I cannot paint anything until I own everything for the project.
Yep, so that you're ready.
And then I can start assembly and stuff. And then I can go through and everything's assembled. Great. Then I can undercoat everything. And then I can start paint. But everything kind of has to live at a very similar stage in the project. Otherwise, my brain explodes. I'm relatively sure that's how it works. But I physically, and then to the point around the sevens team dilemma, I did my sevens team for this league. I painted them. They're done. They're rocked and rolled. And then I hired a position that I did not have painted.
See, this is the sort of thing that you've got to think of before you start painting in the first place.
I didn't think I was going to hire it, and then I changed my mind halfway through the season. I'm like, I'm never going to do this. I'm like, no, that's the best idea in the world. And I was right. But now I have one unpainted model on that team and zero desire to go back and do it, but a real need to get it done. And so it's this conflict of like, I have to, but I don't want to, but I have to. But I've got other stuff I'm excited because I finished that project. And also once I've finished a project, it goes on the shelf in the cupboard and I am never painting that again.
Yep.
Like it's done. I will paint an entire another team of the same kind before I go back and add to that team.
Just as an example here, my sevens team for next season. I haven't quite worked out which way I'm going. I could take one of the four positions, each of the four positions, or I could go two of one position, or I might even go three of one position. So I've printed all those ready. So I currently have like 10 models ready to paint for my 7, potentially 8 models that I will use in the course of the season.
But the flip side here is this team only ever going to be used for that season? Because if they might be used for something else, you might say, for this season, I'm going to use this. Next season, I'm going to take the same team, but I'm going to do different things.
Very true.
And so actually having the options, and I found this recently.
The options of 4 individuals or 2 individuals and 2 or 1 individual and 3, all of those should be covered. So once I start painting them, because they're not even undercoated yet, but they have been printed and they put on bases, they will be ready to go whichever way my brain goes at that particular moment.
And often I will create a starting roster for a team and paint those and then regret that. because it locks you into that's the team I now use. And I found recently doing the Norse that I did for Moose, like that was a moment where I had to stop right at the start and go, you kind of have to do all of the options for positions, particularly for Norse, because you can afford all of the options.
Yep.
So you kind of need 2 of each, and then enough linemen for the armor 8 guys who die to be replaced with Journey. And like, so it was this whole piece around, actually, this isn't a sevens team. This is a much bigger than sevens team, because you want the options available. For my own projects, I can kind of ignore that and just live with a regret. But
see, I've got this pile of paints that I've been using for the vampire. I've also got another pile of paints which I'm not 100% sure what I was using them for. I do have a number of Star Wars models which are sort of half painted, but like, I don't need to worry too much. Like, they're Star Wars, they have their colors, so I can come back to them later. So I might, once I finish this vampire, I might just clear the desk, start again.
Yeah, I'm ready for a desk clearing, to be honest. Because I have a team I've literally got to start now, because I've done the YSO series vamp. So all of that can go back, and I can start the next one, which is a little bit exciting. But again, it will be, I printed some of them and then decided I didn't like the scale, and I wanted to adjust the scale of some of the others. And so I couldn't possibly even undercoat the ones that I was keeping until I had printed, rescaled and printed all of the others, and then decided I wanted bases for them, and I found other bases. So I couldn't possibly undercoat anything until I'd gone back and printed the bases and stuck everything to bases. Like, I'm an all or nothing. And I want to challenge myself at some point to just go, no, we're just going to do, I could do an army a unit at a time, because at some point you could get bored with it and put it aside and come back and actually go, this much is completed and I have to do this much. But I print the whole lot, spray the whole lot, undercoat, like we're doing. That's my...
It's hard for me to go back to a project too if I don't have a reason to. My lizards, I used them in 2 seasons. They're still half done. The skinks are all done, but the Saurus are, probably 75% done. And the Crocs is probably 60% done.
Yeah.
But I just haven't gone back.
But I'm also never going back to them until I decide to play them again. And that would be the moment that I'm like, all right, well, now I'm finishing them. And that's kind of where this would be. I get excited about painting stuff generally when I'm playing a game for it. And again, props to the people who can just paint something.
Yep.
And have the discipline to keep that up and get something completed that they haven't played yet, but they really want to.
Yep.
Those people like, I don't play with unpainted stuff. I'm like, I would never play fucking anything because I'm not painting it until I'm playing a game.
I did that with Necromunda, remember? I'd been painted for 2 years before we played.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely not doing that, is the moral of the story. But you could be playing a game, painting stuff for it, great. And if you were doing it that kind of unit at a time thing, you would have stuff that was completed, which is lovely, and stuff that was 100% not completed. Fine. Yep. You stop playing the game, you put them all on a shelf, great. You decide 3 months later that you want to play a game of that. It gets the juices flowing. You could kind of keep just adding to. It kind of means that you don't have to do that. The project is finished. I'm done. I'm out.
Yep.
Moment that I always have, because I'm painting this particular army, force, warband, whatever, because you can always then go back and keep adding to it. But that is not the way I look at these projects. I go, I need to see the whole project and I need to know when it's done. And it's done at this point, and now I'm never touching it again.
Yep. Yeah, I'm on that. with you. I'm just, it needs to be, I need to be organized. I mean, my Chaos Space Marine Army, which I have been putting together, well, I haven't put anything together for it for a long time, but I was putting it together since, I was in my 20s. I long ago made the decision that I was just they were going to be a mishmash, and like every different squad was going to be painted a different color. And that worked. I painted a couple of squads. Everything else is still black. It's like 99% of the army is in various shades of black undercoat. But, I mean, that was something I could have done. I could have gone off and painted a unit of those and done a different color and moved on and come back to it. But 2 years later, but I haven't.
If I'm not playing it, I'm not painting it because I'm not excited by it. And it's 40k, so I'm absolutely not playing it.
Done. All right. Good enough answer?
That's an answer.
Yep. Why So Serious 4 is around about 4 weeks away. Tickets are still definitely on sale. We are wanting to make this as big as possible, so if you are thinking of buying a ticket, please do, because it's going to be a shitload of fun, and it's all going to a good cause. We have stuff planned. We're excited. You should be too.
What he said.
Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I'm up enough.
Yeah.
Let's bring it down.
Bring it down?
Yeah. Does that mean we talk about our Patreons? Anyway.
Sure. Give us a follow. Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, Twitch, YouTube. Almost said U2s, which is a type of collectible, which has nothing to do with us. YouTube.
I like to think that I'm collectible.
No. Thank you very much, as always, to our patrons, our lifetime patrons, Alice and Clinton, as well as our thoughtless patrons, Ant, Archie, Craig, Gertzy, Jared, Kingsley, and Yuri. Thank you very much, guys. We much appreciate the support, especially when we leave it, a month between episodes.
That's never happened. That's slander.
No, never. Not once. Laters.
Gotcha.
No!